Capacity of how big we think. We think smaller because we don't think we can do things on a bigger scale, or
Alright guys, welcome back to another YouTube video with Dejon Price. I have a special guest with me, and this is something I've been sort of contemplating the last couple of days. So without further ado, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is River Skinner, based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm a family man, father, a husband. That's me.
Amen. River, do you want to give my audience like an elevated pitch synopsis of how long you've been in the sales industry and exactly what got you into that industry?
So I've been in sales for practically my whole life. My dad gave me an opportunity when I was like 12. Said, hey, you can go and, so my dad owns produce stands, hold a sign on the side of the road for $4 or for $3 an hour, or you can go make $3 an hour plus 50 cents a watermelon you sell, and go try to sell watermelons. So I chose to sell the watermelons and kind of became addicted to the idea of commissions.
So okay, it was the commissions concept that got you infatuated with hard work equals
more pay.
More pay.
Yep, I currently hold the watermelon record. Watermelons that are sold in a day at a produce stand, so 160 watermelons. If anybody wants to challenge me, let's do it.
Cool, so you got into the produce industry for a little bit. After that, where did you go from there?
So I had a friend that worked at the produce stand that was older than me. Okay. He went and sold door-to-door for a summer after he graduated high school, selling pest control, door-to-door, and he invited me when I graduated high school to go join him, but he was gonna go sell Dish Network. So the day I graduated high school, I went out with him, we went and sold door-to-door, Dish Network for a summer. So yeah, that was 10 years ago.
Wow, what, 2013? Okay, so you being in the solar industry now for
about 6-7 years.
About 6-7 years.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna get into that because this is actually very important. Obviously, money doesn't make people, but money amplifies who you really are. So with that being said, obviously you didn't make your most amount of money selling watermelons, right? Nor selling Dish Network.
Yeah.
What is the first couple of years in solar? What did it look like as far as commission wise?
How much did I make?
Yes.
The first year I made around 98,000. The next year I made 230,000. Following year I made 440. Following year I made 450, and it's continued to escalate from there.
Continue to escalate from there. Wow. So this guy is definitely a shark. You know, he's making 6 to 7 times the average income in the US, and this guy is how old?
28.
28 years old. So we're talking about you've been in the solar industry from 6 to 7 years. So you were in the industry, what? Was that 22?
Yep, around 22.
22 years old. So actually guys, as you guys know from my previous vlog, I'm 22 years old. So this is actually very inspiring. I know that there's a lot more for me, especially it being 2023 and not, 2014. Yeah. So that being said, guys, you guys already know I have made an agreement with my AI to ask questions from a millionaire entrepreneur. So yeah, let's get into it. How did you come up with the idea for your successful business?
And me having a successful business? I think number one is finding a mentor that was doing what I wanted to do. So I met Jason Hershey, which you obviously know, who was doing what I wanted to do. Yeah. And so I saw him and his success. He had a family that was well put together, a family that loved each other. I was making good money. I was like, cool, I'm all in. And somebody who was all in on me. So I think that was really important, is finding someone who's doing what I'm doing, that can teach me the ways, but also committed to my success as well. And then just a relentless desire to always get better. It's constant self-education, constant learning. And I've never been to a day of college in my life, but I feel like I've learned and educated myself, way more than a college could ever teach me. Right. Or not that it couldn't ever teach me. I've never been to college, so I don't know, but I know it's taught me a lot.
A lot of the time, guys, we hear that entrepreneurs, they say, they want people in their lives that practice what they preach. And like he just said, he found a mentor that can sort of model behind him. He had the business, the family, sort of the life looked like something that was progressive. And with that being said, as far as the second question being here, what challenges did you face when starting your entrepreneurship journey?
Mainly myself,
That's good.
I think in sales, it's all about mastering yourself and really just learning to be super self-aware. And so a lot of insecurities I've had to work through, just self-doubt. I think the only limits that we have in the solar industry is just our own capacity of how big we think. We think smaller because we don't think we can do things on a bigger scale, or we think we can in the moment until it gets hard, and then we start to diminish our belief. And so I feel like the biggest challenge for me has been to really learn myself and learn how to overcome my own doubts.
Your own doubts. Okay.
Yeah, and insecurities and stuff like that.
Gotcha. A lot of people in 2023, they're doing like therapy and self-help books and journaling and stuff. As far as those things, what have you taken and implemented in your own life that has helped you sort of get a clearer vision on your business?
I think, so I have this concept of winning the morning. You know, there's core four, there's four things in life. There's your body, being, balance, and business. So your business, which is your finances, your being, which is your spirituality, your balance, which is your relationships, and then your body, which is your physical health.
Amen.
So I developed a habit of winning the morning where each day I pour into one of those areas, or into all four of those areas every morning. So every morning I'm working out. This morning I ran 4 miles. For my spirituality, I'm investing into myself through some breath work and meditation, as well as through my journaling. So I write down, you know, just a page of what are my thoughts for the day. And then I'm investing into myself through writing my goals down. And then how I'm investing into my business is I'm reading 10 pages of a book every single day. Throughout the day, I'm also investing into myself by, you know, they call it mobile university, where you're basically listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks on the road. So those are like the habits that I've developed just every single morning. You can find me 7 a.m., 8 a.m., working out, reading, journaling, meditating, you know, almost say 95% success rate.
Jeez. Guys, that's past 5 years.
No, probably past 10 years.
Okay. You mentioned something very idea and very profound, and I sort of want to highlight it. He writes down his thoughts, not having to get into your business or anything, but like how detailed are you whenever you're reevaluating your thoughts or just jotting down what's going on in your mind?
I just look at it as like, I'm just trying to purge my thoughts. You know, I think at least for me, the way I think is I get into loops. And so I think things over and over and over again. And so I'm not really trying to like get them out to like really look at them. I'm more just getting them out to get them out of my head and just like, this is my emotions and this is what's going on in my mind. So I try to be pretty raw, like, hey, I'm feeling, you know, insignificant, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling, or I'm feeling great, or I'm feeling confident. But it's like whatever I'm really feeling, I try to just be like, here it is. And so that's actually something I just really started doing just a few days ago. So it's not like I've had a lot of experience, but I was listening to some podcasts of other guys who felt like that was something that's been very therapeutic for them.
Yes.
And so instead of trying to be positive and being like, oh, I'm Mr. Positivity.
Yes.
It's like I'd rather just be real and just be able to like express myself. At least be honest with myself. You know what I mean? So I've been working on that the past few days.
That's good. I love that. Number 4, Mr. AI, he says, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own business?
Well, I think it's hard because I don't feel like I'm like an entrepreneur. I feel like I'm more of like I'm an executive sales leader as far as like in our company. So I think it's a little bit different. So I'll just reframe the question like, what would I suggest for someone who really wants to do well and start into solar? I would say number 1, surround yourself with people that sell high volume. You know, surround yourself with people that are doing well and doing the thing that you want to do. Number 2 is get obsessed with sales. Like you just have to have an obsession with getting better. Like there's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. Most people are in a fixed mindset. That's why there's so much mediocrity. And fixed mindset is that I was born this way. I can't get any better. There's no way to improve. It's just either have it or I don't. It's either in my genes or it's not. And that's just not true. The 4th thing I would say is getting really, really structured and organized. Like I think a lot of salespeople are very disorganized by nature. You know, I think they're very charismatic. Like I think they're not very managerial with their life. And one thing I found for me is the more structure I have, the more consistency I can have. And so a habit that I have is, you know, I'm tracking all the deals that I sell, I'm tracking my commissions, I'm tracking my finances, I'm making sure that my life's organized and not chaotic. So I think having a very structured life will make it so that you have the correct habits going into sales. You're not constantly getting pulled away from the other responsibilities that you should have taken care of prior. If that makes sense.
Yes. I remember you saying about a year and a half ago about open circuits. We talked about open circuits in an office, and you were talking about how in your life you're dealt with so many different circuits, but it's a matter of you closing those circuits. And if you don't, it goes in relationships and business and finances, you're going to have open circuits that aren't closed.
Yep.
And so in the long run, you do a disservice to yourself whenever you're not even ignoring what you're supposed to be doing. So I love how I sort of put those two together. So number 5 question, it says, how do you manage your time effectively as a solo person?
Yeah, I think time blocking is critical. You know, you have to live by a calendar. You know, there's some sort of saying that I'll remember it. It goes basically saying God created 24 hours in a day to make the driven man, gives him enough day to be successful, but it gives the lazy man not enough time. And so what I think when I hear that is like, hey, there's enough hours in the day to be successful for your fitness, for your health, for your finances, to sell a lot of solar, to have a great relationship, to invest into your spirituality, whatever that looks like for you. You have to be disciplined.
Yes.
And so that's the importance of number 1, winning the morning. You wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. You've done things to invest into yourself by the time it's 8, 9 a.m. And then from that point moving forward, you gotta schedule your times out. And so there's this process called Sunday planning, which basically every Sunday. You know, a cute saying would be, if you want to win the war, you spend most of the time in the general's tent.
That's good.
So you have to spend time on Sundays to say, okay, what are the key things I want to get done? What are the roles that I have? Okay, the roles that I have are, for example, I'm an athlete, I'm a husband, I'm a leader, I'm a salesperson, I'm a man of God, I'm a contributor in the community. Whatever the roles are for you, and say, okay, what are the things that I need to get done in this role this week? And then you schedule those out. So for example, as a husband, one thing I try to do is every week I schedule out date night. You know, every week, no matter what, it's like, okay, date night, we're gonna schedule it out. I plan the date, I make it so, you know, that's a priority, and that's on Sunday. And so same thing with selling. I know when I'm selling, I know the hours I'm putting in, and that's all determined on a Sunday.
Wow, I love that, especially about the date night factor, because you're married.
Yeah.
You're a father.
Yeah.
So how important would you say, you know, we listened to Andy Elliott talk about how he heard someone try to give him advice on being in a relationship and while trying to manage being a business person is you know, it's almost obsolete and it's almost impossible because one or the other is going to backpedal. So how do you sort of balance having a healthy business life while also being a present husband?
Oh, well, this is something I could use some advice on. I'm not the best at this. I noticed when my marriage is the best is when I'm at home. There's a time where I turn my phone off and I'm just fully present. When I'm doing my date nights, when I fall away from my date nights, that's not good. I make a conscious effort to be a good husband. You know, somebody told me, a guy named Roger told me, he said, hey, just because you're making a lot of money doesn't mean you can justify being an asshole.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like a lot of times people think, oh, I just make the money so I can treat you however I want. And I've tried to really be like, try my best to say, okay, just because I do that, that doesn't justify why I can't be a good, you know, a better husband and invest in my wife.
That's good. I love that. Number 6, what are some key lessons you've learned along your way in business?
Number 1, you know, the people are the asset. You know, if you're going on a team, the people are the asset, not me. There's times where I'm like, I should have treated this person better. I got my ego in the way or whatever. So number 1, you got to make sure that, you know, the people are the asset. 2 is numbers will always tell you a story. Tracking the numbers and the data is really important.
Yes.
Number 3, if you want to grow a big team, you got to create a team culture. You know, I think culture is super important, and it's easy to have a culture by default, or it's easy to have a culture by, you know, being proactive.
Right.
And so I think having a culture that serves the things that you want. And the last thing is one thing I've learned is that gratitude is kind of the key for everything. So the more that we can truly be grateful, that we can not just say that we're grateful, but to really feel grateful in our hearts, that's where the superpowers unleash, I feel like.
You know, being grateful, especially as a sales rep, like I feel like a lot of the time we like to compare ourselves, whether it's commissions or numbers or whatever the case may be, and that can sometimes get in the way of our gratitude. You know, you do yourself a disservice by comparing, pulling away from what you're actually capable of and what you're looking at someone else. And so guys, don't do that. People are the asset. You know, and sometimes you said that your ego gets in the way of you being that full leader towards those people that are assets.
Yeah.
So I love that correlation. Number 7 is a nice one. I like this question. How do you stay innovative and ahead of the competition in your industry?
I think that, especially in the solar industry, people focus way too much on what other people are doing. And so I operate the best when I just focus on what I'm doing. I feel like I operate best when I'm in a bubble, and it's like I just focus on me. I'm not worried about what Tom, Dick, and Harry are doing. I'm worried about what I'm doing, what you're doing, and what the other people on my team are doing.
Yes.
And so I feel like, you know, when you're always looking over the fence, you're not mowing your own lawn. So just get busy mowing your own lawn.
That's good. That's so good. Oh my goodness. And that sort of goes back to what we were talking about as far as not being a liability, but being an asset. So even as a leader, you got to like check yourself sometimes, and you want to take care of your people, but at the same time, you still want to be the forefront of the group and still, you know, proceed in leads and numbers. Number 8, it's a good one. And I haven't asked you this before. How do you handle failure and setbacks in your business?
I think you can only cry over spilled milk for so long. So when there's failures and mistakes and whatever, having a pity party about it isn't going to really fix it. So it's like, you know, find the problem, find out what caused the problem, move on.
Yes.
And just like that's one of, I think, the way I'm built is I don't ever think about the past. Like I'm not someone who's ever looking in the rearview mirror. So I don't get depressed. I don't get down on myself on failures. I'm naturally anxious. I'm always in the future, which I should just be present. But so I'm more worried about the future than I am being sad about the past.
Wow.
So I don't really worry about failures too much, just because that's not the way my brain thinks.
For the people that are listening to this, you may be thinking like, this is easier said than done, which in some cases, like it's almost valid. I believe you said something like excuses are always valid because throughout every hour of the day, you can make an excuse and it could be valid. Like you said, not crying or dwelling. I feel like there's a lot of dwellers that dwell on things not going their way. And it shows a lot of character traits within yourself. If you we talked about it this morning, being a victim of circumstance. If things are not going in your way, what are you doing to hold yourself to a higher standard, or are you backpedaling into your bubble that's that's not going to be helping you out. And I feel like that, accepting what's going on, even if it's not going your way, but then moving on. And it's okay to be a little anxious, it's just not okay never to, because that's going to bring fear in your life. So we're going to do a couple more. How do you prioritize your goals and make decisions for your family, or what's best for your family?
I think getting really clear on what you want. What do you value? I think you have to understand what you value, you have to understand what you want, and then the decisions are easy. And realizing with the family that you're not, for me, I'm not the only person in my family. I can't always just make the decision best for me. I have to be empathetic, even though that might not be something I want, but other people in my family want. So it's like, okay, we have to compromise and come up with a solution. So
that's good. Let's talk about money and finances and stuff. So what is your approach to managing finances and investments? And I'll say, like, even to add a little question to that, like, what are your thoughts on finances as far as it being something that's important to you? Because we find that there's a lot of people that judge business people that, even if they make $1 million, they're like, okay, they're in it for the money. But as far as your story, as far as what's important to you, how do you manage money and what does it mean to you?
I'm a coin operator. I'm motivated by coin. Like I like it. I like making money. I enjoy it. It's fun. I think I find a lot of security in money. I think at the end of the day, what is money? Money is just a resource. It's just resources. It's a resource to do what you want. I don't think money buys you happiness. I think money buys you freedom. I think it buys you security in a lot of ways. Money is very important, and I think people want to think that it's not important because sometimes it's difficult for people to make it. But my approach to it is, number one, I'm a big believer in not having debt. So the first thing I want to do, if I were in a position, I would pay off all my credit cards, then I'd pay off all my vehicles or whatever else. And right now I'm working on paying off a mortgage. So I would focus on getting where I don't owe anybody. No one's going to be coming and collecting from me. I want to make sure that that's taken care of, as well as I want to make sure I have what's called the King's or Queen's Vault. And what that is 6 months of income that's in my vault. It's in my safe. Not literally, it's in the bank, but it's 6 months of income that if, let's say, I don't have any income coming in, I have 6 months in the bank that would, protect me. And then I like to push that out for a year, and then so on and so forth. But so that's number one, get out of debt. Number two, get your vault to have 6 months to a year's worth of income. And then from there, you start investing. And I'm probably a little bit more conservative than some people, but I just think that Warren Buffett said that there's 2 rules to investing. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, follow rule number 1. So probably the more conservative, the better is what I take away from that.
That's so good. How do you adapt to changes in the market and or industry?
Well, things are always going to change. The only thing that's constant is change. And so I think my dad told me that it's not always about IQ. It's about EQ, which is emotional quotient, and then AQ, which is your adaptability quotient. So I think the more, a good book to read is Who Moved My Cheese? In that book, it basically said that there's mice that would find cheese every day at this one spot, and eventually the cheese doesn't show up. So you can choose to sit there and wait for the cheese to show up, but it's not going to, or you can find a solution and move on. So I think when people have, they have a way to make their cheese or, what the result that they want, and that changes, you can once again cry over spilled milk and say, oh, it used to be this way. It's like the mortgage guy that is 2023 and he's still talking about why he's broke because of 2008 and the market crash. It's like he's too busy staring at the cheese. It's like the cheese moved, go move, go find it, go find it. So it's like just because it moves, what's your options? The option is to throw a pity party or go find the cheese, go lace up your shoes and get running, go find it. Where is it?
So good. These are gems. I'm so privileged to be able to ask you and get your feedback on that because I think it's so valuable. So guys, go read that book. I'm gonna read that book as well. How do you stay motivated and continue to set new goals for yourself?
I have a process that every morning, part of my journaling is I write out my page of what's going on in my head. But I also do what's called Big 10. And the principle of Big 10 is I write down my Big 10 goals every day. What are the biggest goals that I have? And the rules are, number 1, you can't look back on previous days. So it's an assignment to write them down. So you can't look back and say, okay, what did I write yesterday? If you don't remember what you wrote yesterday, it's probably not important to you. So when you write down your goals, you want it to come from your heart. And so what the habit does is, as you're writing, the first couple of days, maybe the first 2 weeks, the goals change. But as you get in the habit of writing down these goals, the ones that are important to you will always come to surface. And so I think that's a habit that I've had for the past year or so, is writing down my Big 10 goals. So that way it's like things are always coming up. I always, I write down my goals, and I'm really good at reverse engineering. What do I need to do on a month, yearly, quarterly, monthly, and weekly in order to hit the big goal? And so it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I want to know how much the bite is and what I need to do. And so that way it's like you have a big goal and you can chunk that down to really easy steps along the way. And so you know, it really brings that vision to be really clear.
Gotcha.
So that's one thing that's worked for me.
Gotcha. It sort of sounds like you reverse engineer yourself and get clarity from something that could look like you said, you know, taking a bite. You're not going to devour a whole steak in a bite. You're going to take it step by step. You want to enjoy every situation as well. A couple of days ago, I had asked, you know, River, like, I believe I asked in Reno, I asked you, you know, why do you do this? What is all of this for? And I think number 21 sums it up. It says, what is your long-term vision for your business?
Well, my long-term vision is to grow leaders. I look at the opportunity, what it's given me, and I want to continue to grow myself, but I want the other leaders and sales reps to have a great experience here. I love making money. Like I said, I'm coin operated, but nothing makes me happier than getting a message from somebody who says, hey, this changed my life. I want to create a system and a culture that's happening a lot. Hey, I just made my biggest paycheck. I just was able to pay off my car. A system where people are coming into and they're successful. So that's the long-term vision. We want to grow this thing really big. And for myself, I want to pay off my house. I want to be in a position by the time that I'm 30 that I'm super financially secure. You know, my house is paid for, all my stuff is paid for. I have real estate investments that are paying for my monthly expenses, and so that way I want to get to a point where I don't have to do this. Not that I won't, but that it's like I'm choosing to do it. I don't have to do it because if this were all to go away, I'd still be covered financially. Like that's my goal right now, is to get to that point.
Wow, definition of wealth. Thank you so much, River. Take your time to
like and subscribe.
Where can people find you at, and how can they stay in touch with you and communicate with you?
So number one, I have a podcast called the Win the Morning Podcast. Go look at that. It's on Apple or Spotify. And then Instagram, River J Skinner.
River J Skinner.
Go look this up. Go look me up.
Cool. And then what company are you a VP of?
G3 Solar.
G3 Solar, guys. Thank you guys for watching again. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. God bless. Swell.